Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Coffee Roaster Warm-Up Sessions podcast. This is episode 196, and we're diving into electric grinders in comparison to hand grinders. Now, if you haven't listened to last week's episode, I'd highly recommend you do, because we talked about why hand grinders in very many ways actually outperform and are a better value than electric grinders. Now, does that mean that electric grinders are no longer necessary or you shouldn't get one? Not quite. This episode is all about why you should get an electric grinder and why they're still really, really beneficial for us. Anyways, let's get into this. Last week, I don't know how, but you guys really seemed to enjoy the hand grinder conversation, which just got a lot of reaction, which makes sense. I've been thinking about that whole podcast all week, just thinking like, it's kind of crazy to think the hand grinders are just so, like, it's still so weird to think that they're just up to on par when 10 years ago, that was by far not the case. Yeah. I remember when like I got my first grinder as a gift, which was a Hario Slim grinder, which is probably it's just terrible.
It's bad.
It's almost like a blade grinder. Almost. It's like a step above.
It's a step above a blade grinder. 100%.
Yeah. All right. Let's pour some batchy.
Yeah. Oh, this is the Wilton, huh? Nice.
Nope.
Oh, this is the other.
You don't know what this is.
I don't?
For sure. If you do, you are a master taster.
Yeah.
You deserve like 10 Qs if you guess this.
Well, it's not green coffee. We're not evaluating green coffee here, but this is then not any of our coffees.
Yeah. It's not.
No, it's very similar. It's definitely not roasted on a Loring. I'll tell you that.
Oh God, sir.
Am I wrong? It's not roasted on a Loring. It's not roasted on an IMF. It's not roasted on. What is this roasted on? Well, it's also not roasted on a Diedrich.
A Probat, a Gießen, a Typhoon?
No. It's not. It's definitely.
Amex?
No.
A Bullet?
I'm fairly confident that this is roasted on a.
This is a pop quiz for Sergio.
Not a steel drum. What's the other? Steel versus iron. The one that heats up slightly has a hard time with retention and heat.
This is a Diedrich.
It is a Diedrich?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so then I was wrong.
Dialing in your taste for roasters.
And
that means it's well roasted.
It is well roasted.
So
it's not that. That's what I'm saying. Like it's very well roasted.
I'll give this caveat. It's also a weird water composition. I ran out of third wave water packets, but I did a 50-50 blend of our city water with perfect coffee water.
Okay.
And I actually really enjoyed. I made a pour over earlier today with that water mixture.
Yeah,
which is kind of whack, but it ended up tasting very good. Like I was like, why does this taste so good? Why do I like this so much? There was some weird, like a lot of really crazy, like all of a sudden fruit and like this interesting flavor profile. I don't know, but that's just a caveat. What do you think this is? Give me an origin, a processing method, I don't know, variety. I don't even know what the varietal is. Maybe I do.
It's anaerobic washed.
Oh, okay. Da-ding.
That's for sure. It has a little bit of, like, you can taste processing on it for sure.
Okay.
100%, but it's not a natural. So that's why I'm like, it's what's the word? Something special fermentation and washed, anaerobic washed.
Origin
is it's definitely Colombia.
Okay. Wow.
And out of coffee. And I would say it's region. This is most definitely a Huila.
Wow, you guys 3 for 3.
And this is a Castillo varietal.
No.
Caturra? It's not a pink bourbon.
I think it's a Caturra. I think
not a pink bourbon. I do know that.
I think.
With the processing method, I went with Castillo, but it's not Caturra.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure it's a
Caturra. I mean, that's why I said I knew it wasn't a pink Bourbon.
Yeah.
It wasn't a Bourbon in general.
Yep.
And the reason I went with the Castillo is because of the processing on it. But I guess 3 for 4.
And give me a roaster. Who do you think this is? You already know it's a Diedrich, and you already know
it's a Diedrich.
All the processing on it. Serge, if you get this, you deserve a raise.
Wow. I mean, there's a lot of people roasting on Diedrich, but
and plus this style too of roast style. So,
I mean, I would have to hype out.
This is gonna be. Luna. Oh my God,
Luna! Is it Luna? Is it really Luna Coffee Roasters?
The podcast is over.
Is it really Luna? Wow, incredible.
Serge palate leveled up. He's getting a raise, folks. He's getting a raise. I don't know where that's where he's coming from, but he's getting a raise.
That's a bigger question to solve. Where is it coming from?
Wow.
No, that's incredible. Yeah.
If he got the if he got the varietal, I would have That'd be bonkers. That
would have been crazy.
That's bonkers.
It's yummy.
They source some of their coffees similar, or we source similar to them, or they similar. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they buy coffees from a cooperative, which is Los Cocharos in Huela. And it's like a collective of a bunch of small producers. And they all process coffees kind of somewhat similarly.
Yeah.
And the result of these processing and just how they grow coffees and all that jazz, it ends up being very, I don't know, like fruit forward.
Yeah.
Fruit berry. It's got lots of color, sweet. Yeah. Not bonkers bright, but it's just
kind of reminds me of Skittles quite a bit.
Actually, that's actually it has it's like just this rich sweetness. And you're not sure if it's like a berry or fruit. It's just like it's So that actually cooperative. This is, I think, the name of the producer is Nervaez, I think. But it's also the same cooperative that Jose Lasso's in and that Ildefonso Cordoba's in.
Gotcha.
And I know Luna has served some, Ildefonso's coffees literally every year.
Yeah.
But we literally just dropped today our Ildefonso coffee.
Yeah.
So, and I would highly recommend picking that up. It is a Bourbon He, so it's going to be a little more that like bright, juicy, zippier acidity, but it has some similar qualities. But if you compare this also with another coffee that we're dropping here soon, the Jose Lasso, also very similar. Would you say?
Yeah, totally.
It has
I think Jose Lasso, was it the cupping that we did? It was the fourth cup on the fourth set on the table that I said this is probably the best coffee on the table. Was that Jose Lasso or was that Gasca Brothers? No, I'm pretty sure it was Jose Lasso.
It's nice.
Yeah. And we cupped it next to Juan Peña's coffee too. And I still thought it was one of my favorite coffees on the table.
Yeah, I think you said it was your favorite.
Yeah, my favorite coffee on the table. I'm a big fan. Like I really like. And we even personally enjoyed like Lasso's coffees for like all of the Lasso coffees, Wilder, like all of the fam's coffees, very much so. And this is the first time that we've had a Jose Lasso coffee, and it doesn't disappoint. It's like just on par with all of the cream of the crop, coffees. So I'm like stoked. So and with the Ildefonso coffee, I think we've shared the story multiple times on the pod. It was the fact that we originally sourced this coffee and really wanted to get it into our roastery, and then the truck got totaled.
It's true.
And we lost all of our harvest and had to get another Ildefonso coffee, but not the Bourbon He. But the first time you and I cupped the Bourbon He back in, what was that, 2022, I think, or 2021, the first SCA Expo post-COVID lockdowns. And we were just like fascinated how interesting it was on the table. Like even back in the day, and how much how it stood out on the table versus all the other ones. And I remember there's a lot of people in the room, like Brandon from Elm, like all the homies, you know, folks from Luna, like we were all like cupping together. And then I remember like cupping through the coffee and I'm like, dude, why this tastes a lot like a bourbon, but it can't be. Like it's just different enough where I'm like, it has all the acidity, has the just composition of a bourbon coffee, but there's something different about it and I can't pinpoint it. And like, that's what we highlighted. And then we found out that it was a bourbon ahi. That was my first time hearing about the version of a bourbon, the ahi version of it. And that's where I was like, dude, let's get this coffee because it's so interesting to me. So finally, after like a couple of years of not having it, we have it. So stoked on it.
Yeah. So go pick up a bag. It's live. It's a tasty one. The Lasso coffee is still on the way, still going to be coming in a few weeks or so. And the Juan Peña is also coming in a few weeks. But other than that, let's get into it. So hand grinders, a lot of pros over electric grinders. As crazy as that sounds, but that does not mean somebody in the comments, I think, was like, oh, don't tell me that, you know, hand grinders are better than an EG1. I'm like, bro, that's not what I'm saying. I would choose an EG1 totally. over a hand grinder literally any day, by all means. But, you know, of course, if you listen to the last episode, you know, like, when you're comparing like stuff like mobility, you know, kitchen space, footprint, price, cost, for sure. Big one. Yeah. Especially compared to the EG1. I mean, at some point you realize, it's like on a value basis, hand grinders have a lot on top of the EG1. But if you just look at like unlimited budget, doesn't matter, just specs wise. The EG1 is, I'd definitely choose that over. And there are some pros and cons to that, but I mean, I don't know, where do we want to start?
I mean, as much as one, I can guarantee you to not brew and grind this coffee with a hand grinder.
Correct.
And I mean, just the fact that you didn't, there's a few reasons that we can unpack of why you didn't brew it with a hand grinder. Not because it tasted better with our EK, but a few other reasons. One of them being batch size. And I'm talking about like size really matters. And I'm not talking about burr size here. I'm talking about literally batch size. So, and that really does matter in when you're choosing a grinder. And the EG1 is one of those grinders that, I mean, I love our friends at Weber. Like, we're tight. Like, I talk to them regularly. Like, I love them. I will always, like you said, like, if I have to choose an electric grinder, my dream grinder is the EG1, hands down. I've even settled for a key. I love what they do. But the reality is even that doesn't solve the challenge with grinding about 60 to 80 to 120 gram batch sizes.
Right.
It just doesn't solve the challenge. Like, that's the point of friction where, as excellent as hand grinders are, and someone posted or commented.
For clarity's sake, Sergio's saying the hand grinders don't solve that issue.
And so don't some electric grinders, because even with that, with a single dose electric grinder, like I was talking to Weber about using the key for batch. There are some tweaks and mods you can do to make it take the whole dose, but even that, it's either you're grinding twice or you're having to pour or slow feeding, right? So you can work around it, but it's not the classic, like, I still at home, like my brewing setup at home right now is the Ode Gen 1 with upgraded Gorilla Gear burrs, and with the Aiden. I brew on the Aiden a lot at home, and even scheduling stuff. I'll admit to the fact, I kind of like the fact that I just do one dose, 62.5 grams, dump it in there, grind, it's done, and it's great for batch brew, right? It might not produce the high clarity I want in the filter. And that's the part of the conversation, is when deciding on a hand grinder versus electric grinder, you also have to make a decision on, are you predominantly like seeking that high clarity single cup pour over, or do you want that classic batch brew extraction? Not to say that batch brews don't extract with high clarity, but there's a preference in brewing style that can help you make that decision based on the pros and cons of the grinder that you're looking for. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think the batch size has kind of a double-edged sword. Not double-edged sword, but just has two parts. I think is number one, what you mentioned is, I mean, try grinding 50 grams through a hand grinder.
Yeah.
I mean, most hand grinders might not have the chamber to fit 50 grams, but I mean, you're spending quite a bit of time.
Yeah.
But also, not only is it like energy consuming, I mean, you're just standing there grinding.
Yeah.
But also it's speed and batch size, but also burst size as well. Because I mean, when you have in the EK, you just put it in there and it's like, it eats it through.
Yeah.
I mean, like literally it's, I don't know, 5-second grind or not even that. Like it like consumes it. So, I mean, if you're doing anything, batch brew, I don't know. I guess if you're making like a bigger volume of cold brew.
I can't imagine making a cold brew batch with a hand grinder.
Yeah, because I mean, like for example, like our batches, we're grinding for 4 to 5 pounds.
Yeah, you're not doing that with a hand grinder.
Yeah, that's bonkers. Yeah, that's bonkers.
Yeah.
So it's like, there is definitely that part that it's is just hard to ignore is batch size. So if you're making coffee for yourself, great. But if you have some friends over, I don't know, if you're making coffee for 2 people, that already becomes like 2 pour overs. It already is starting to get a little cumbersome. As soon as you get into 3, 4, I think it's like, please just throw that in the grinder.
And I get like there's people listening to this might come up with a counter argument or play devil's advocate. Like, hey, if you're grinding coarser, it's probably going to take less time because coarser grind size is quicker to grind. Yeah. Yes, I 100% get that. Yeah. Duh, obvious. But the reality is the multiple dosing, like the multiple steps, is time consuming. And especially like, let's say you have a dinner party at home and you have about, 6 people that want a decaf. Are you brewing a pour over for 6 people? Like, just extraction time is going to take you 6 times 3 minutes on average is already 18 minutes.
Yeah. That's a very
now
valid
add on
claim.
prep and clean up. Like you have a dinner party at home and you're brewing pour overs. You're taking especially if it's just one set. Like I'm not talking about folks who have like a cafe setup at home. I'm not talking about that. And you might make it quicker. But if it's just one set back and forth, you're investing about 20 to 25 minutes of brewing coffee for your dinner party. That means you're not hanging out with folks.
Yep.
Like maybe you want to do that. Maybe you're a little introverted, a little antisocial. It's a nice little getaway. But if you want to be spending time with your people, like that's not convenient. And it's a convenience thing, I think.
100. I think that's a very good way to kind of wrap that bit up, is that it is definitely a convenience thing to have an electric grinder that just crushes through. I mean, you get a good quality grind. So I think the other thing worth considering is kind of breaking the, this is just something that just came to mind, but breaking the electric versus hand grinder thing into kind of 2 categories of like home brewing versus cafe brewing. In the sense of like hand grinders are not even an option for the cafe. So that plays a big role. That's where electric grinders will outperform any hand grinders. I mean, anywhere, whether that's in an office space, in I don't know, pop-up. I mean, maybe you can run like a very low key, like a very slow bar pop-up. You can, I don't know, like I said, like cafe, restaurant, anything that's service based. You're definitely, that's a big con for hand grinders. But I guess if you're just brewing it out yourself, that's not even something to consider. So
and part of that is also, it really depends on your cafe and home bar setup and that. And I would say like we also have to separate all of this from the stream of folks who are looking at like competition. Like a lot of our listeners are probably saying, well, like for like competitors, they're also have to perform 15 minutes, 3 cups, kind of 4 cups kind of thing. Like you have to be quick. But the reality is you are pre-grinding. Like I pre-ground my coffee, even though I didn't use a hand grinder. I had it pre-ground on the Ode. Like, I'm not grinding in front of the judges. Right. So at that point, it has nothing to do with speed or efficiency. It has everything to do with the quality. So, and yes, like a lot of competitors have won with grinders, hand grinders, which we already talked on the last episode about the quality of those things. But this is a different conversation. And with that said, is like when it even comes to offices, like one of our friends like has an insane setup in his office, like insane, like $800 batch brewer, the ratio 8, and then like a DF 80, whatever, the 81, the one above the 64, like insane setup. And why not have just a hand grinder for a less price? Part of it, I literally talked to him today. I was like, dude, like, but why? Like, I would have probably not, as someone who's been in coffee for a decade, I would have not bought this setup for home or for an office. I wouldn't. I'm like, what was your deciding factor? And his deciding factor was literally aesthetic. The way it looks on my bar is what makes me happy. I'm like, how often do you brew coffee out here? He's like, once a month. It's aesthetic. And that's my other question is like, your bar is going to look different, not necessarily perform different if you have a hand grinder sitting there or a EG1, right? And that's also like my interesting question is for folks listening is like, how much of your deciding factor on the grinder really does aesthetic really matter, right?
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's one of those things where, it's kind of, it's a talking piece. It's a, I don't know, somewhat like a functional, very functional piece of furniture. Yeah. I mean, if it's taking up a lot of space in your kitchen, it's going to be something that should be visually appealing. So I totally 100% agree. I mean, for me as well, like, I mean, even if you think about like the Linea Mini, right? Like, guys, there's espresso machines that are like half the cost. Yeah. They can literally have the same specs, the same pre-infused, like everything the same. Yeah. But everybody's drooling over the Linea because it looks like a freaking, like it's the Porsche. Yeah. It's the
Aimé Leon d'Or.
It's, man.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like, and it's not just about spec like, design. Hey, can this make a tasty coffee? Well,
duh.
Yeah. A lot of things can.
Yeah, exactly.
But when you, when it comes down to that is like, there's nothing more beautiful and like, it just speaks for itself. So I think aesthetics actually makes a big deal, especially nowadays with, these home coffee pop-ups or these, influencers and all these, the photos and the sharing and the whole hobby of like, hey, take a photo of your setup on Reddit forums, on Discord groups, on YouTube, like literally it's everywhere. It's become a thing. So
there's
like
Sprudge Awards now.
Yeah. Oh,
Sprudge
I did
literally
see that,
is given an award for the home bar.
Yeah.
Like literally. So it's like, it does matter. What it looks like, how it functions really does matter. So
I think on top of that, last few things is the modularity of grinders. Like it's not very common to hear you're swapping out burrs on a hand grinder, but the fact that, hey, like you can have a great electric grinder, but probably some of the most important component is the burr itself. Yeah. So, I mean, LeBrew Tech comes out with a new pair of burrs and they fit your grinder. You just swap them out. You know, if you have, just that modularity piece, I think plays a big role because that all of a sudden changes the quality.
Right.
Which is the big deal.
Right. And I think the big part is because if you think about like the build of a hand grinder, majority, the most expensive piece in a hand grinder is the burr. And I'm not saying that that's not the case for a electric grinder, but I think a big, like the thing that there's this combination of like RPMage and motor and like motor size and how the motor function in complementation with the burrs is the big deal, right? Why, like, what was it, about 10 years ago, we didn't see like electric grinders with a RPM modulation. Right. Now we see that to be fairly common. And so there's this two very major parts in what makes an electric grinder very like good is the burr set and the motor. In a hand grinder, the focus is all on the burst set.
Yeah.
And that's probably, I can't guarantee it, but in my mind, that is the main reason why you don't see a lot of people focusing on swapping burrs and hand grinders. They do come with a specific, very good burr set.
Yeah.
You know,
and
even
you're
though
essentially paying
for the burr set
inside of I don't know, just a plastic tube, literally.
Exactly. Yeah. Or like wooden, whatever the material is. I think the only good grinder that caught my attention, and I'll be honest, I've never used it. I'm very curious about it. Should probably hit up Lance and get some like ideas on where to call it. Didn't Lance help create the Pietro or something? Yeah. And like, that's the grinder that fascinates me. One, it's not a small hand grinder. Like that's a big puppy. It's like what good old 12-inch, like it's a hefty grinder. Right. But it also has flat burrs. Yeah. Yep. And I'm so used to hand grinders having conical burrs that I'm super curious about that. But then also, like, I don't know, I don't remember exactly Lance's last video on it. Is like, I don't think that people are swapping out those burrs either for like, you know, SSP high clarity. But no, it seems to me like when people are creating hand grinders, when hand grinders are being manufactured, they put so much emphasis on the burrs that it almost seems silly to be like, oh, I'm going to buy the Pietro and throw in some, I don't know, lab sweets. Whatever. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I think the one last thing is like the fact that you can get, you know, a stepless electric grinder. Yeah. But then also, you know, if you're doing a lot of espresso grinding.
Yeah. We've briefly mentioned that before.
You probably want an electric grinder. I mean, probably it just would be a way more convenient and easier workflow. Yeah. And of course, dialing in on a stepless grinder versus a step. There's just a lot of pros to using an electric grinder for. Yeah. But then also on top of all of that, you know, if you have some like health issues. Yep. That's already like a no-brainer. Like, it is what it is. Yeah.
That form of accessibility is like super key, especially if you're like, and I'm not saying like there's the obvious ones like, hey, like if you literally don't have a limb or something like that's obvious, right? Yeah. But if you're like just have pain in your elbow, like if you have pain in your shoulder, like just stuff like that doesn't allow you to have like full rotation. Like I know for a fact, like I had a challenge with that when I tore my rotator cuff. Like, you know what I mean? There's some things that are just not as comfortable as pressing a button. Yeah. And you know, the most challenging thing on my Ode right now is using the bellow and the thing. Other than that, it's not really, it doesn't produce wear on my body. Right. And that's a similar argument to like, and I feel like with people who are so used to hand tamping an espresso versus a puck press, it's a similar concept. Like, oh, which one's quicker, which one's slower, like which one has more wear in your body, and that's a big deciding factor. Do they both like create good espresso? Yeah, of course, but it comes down to some of those functions as well. So
even if you have like a hurt shoulder for a week, just like a week, or like a few days, well, shoot, I mean, you're not grinding coffee.
So, or you have to figure out how to use your, you know, other shoulder or other arm. Right. And that's a big part. Right. Yeah. I think with all of that said, like with like both of these episodes, like as we like kind of close this up, I'm really like contemplating myself as like, do I want to have two grinders at home? Like, is that really necessary? Like with the revolution of hand grinders, I'm like really contemplating that. But I also like feel like the dialogue around this topic is not very clean cut. So whether you have a hand grinder or whether you have an electric grinder, I'm still like, hey, like maybe there is a argument and a benefit to say like you have to have two. I don't know. Thoughts?
I mean, hand grinders are so cheap, affordable that
you could have 2 or 3 hand grinders if you wanted. Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. And that might have to be like something I have to figure out. Right now, I'm pretty happy with my setup. I do miss my Comandante C40. Hopefully, Nate, who purchased it, is having a blast with it.
Yeah. So. Right on. Well, folks, that's a wrap on this episode of the Coffee Roaster Warm Sessions podcast. Friends, as we always say, remember, reflect what's good.